On March 21, 2025, President Trump announced major changes to the federal government's handling of student loans and special education. These changes, part of a larger effort to dismantle the Department of Education, have sparked both confusion and concern among borrowers, educators, and policymakers. The president's plan involves transferring the massive federal student loan portfolio to the Small Business Administration, or SBA. Additionally, oversight of special education programs will shift to the Department of Health and Human Services, known as HHS. These moves represent a significant departure from traditional education policy. They raise questions about the future of federal involvement in education and the potential consequences for millions of Americans. The Trump administration argues that these changes will streamline government operations and lead to better outcomes. Critics, however, fear that they will result in reduced oversight, less funding, and a diminished focus on education as a national priority. The coming months will be crucial in determining the impact of these changes. As the transition unfolds, borrowers and educators will be watching closely to see how these new policies are implemented and what effects they have on students and their families. The stakes are high, and the future of American education may hang in the balance. Under the President's directive, the SBA will now manage the $1.6 trillion federal student loan portfolio, serving over 40 million borrowers. This move has surprised many, as the SBA is traditionally known for supporting small businesses, not managing student loans. The administration argues that the SBA's experience with lending programs will make it well suited to manage student loans. Critics, however, point to the SBA's lack of experience in areas specific to student loans, such as income-driven repayment plans and loan forgiveness programs. There are also concerns about the SBA's capacity to handle such a large and complex portfolio, especially given the recent announcement of significant staffing cuts at the agency. The transition of the student loan portfolio to the SBA raises numerous questions. How will the agency integrate student loan management into its existing operations? Will borrowers experience delays or disruptions in service during the transition? These are just a few of the concerns that borrowers and policymakers alike will be watching closely in the coming months. In another major shift, the responsibility for overseeing special education programs, specifically the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA, will move to HHS. This change has also generated debate, with proponents arguing that HHS's focus on health and well-being aligns well with the needs of students with disabilities. However, opponents worry that this move could marginalize special education within the larger healthcare system. The transfer of IDEA oversight to HHS raises critical questions about funding and enforcement. Will HHS prioritize special education within its budget, or will these programs face cuts? How will HHS ensure that states comply with IDEA regulations and provide students with disabilities with the resources they need? These questions will require careful consideration and monitoring as the transition takes place. The response to these changes has been swift and divided. Supporters of the president's decision applaud the move to streamline government and reduce bureaucracy. They believe that these changes will ultimately benefit borrowers and students by creating a more efficient and effective system. However, critics have expressed deep concern about the potential negative consequences of these moves. Many fear that transferring these programs to agencies with less experience in education could lead to reduced oversight, funding cuts, and a decline in the quality of services provided. The lack of clear transition plans and the significant staffing cuts at both the SBA and the Department of Education have further fueled these concerns. The coming months will be crucial in determining the true impact of these policy shifts. As the transition unfolds, borrowers, educators, and policymakers will be watching closely to see how these changes are implemented and what effects they have on students and their families.